evening. It is 6 p.m. on a Thursday. It hasn't been much before, but it means a lot now because it's time for Baer Facts on Guns, gun safety. And this is the inaugural episode. You're here for the very first one. And this is brought to you by Gold Shield Services. GoldShieldToday.com, 847-865-HVAC. Heating, cooling, electric generators, indoor air quality, all your HVAC needs. And your host this evening is, of course, Derek Baer. Derek, good evening. Why don't you introduce yourself and your guest?
Thank you so much. Yep, Derek Baer, Gold Shield Services. I'm the CFO over there. I have a special guest here, Tom, with On Target. Thank you so much for joining us for our first show. I'm really excited to have you here.
It's a pleasure being here, Derek. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. So really, this show right now, what it's going to be about is talking about what we're really kind of dive into, why the show started, and my experience that I've had with On Target, which has always been phenomenal. So On Target's in Crystal Lake, for those of you that don't know. It's at 560 Beechcraft Lane in Crystal Lake. I personally go there. I've bought firearms from your location. I got to tell you, every time I've walked into this range, into the gun shop itself, has always been a pleasure. It's been fun. It's been exciting. My wife is a new firearm owner, gun owner.
And hello, Kiki, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, there she is. Yeah.
And,
Look at
and
there's
hello,
my wife
Steph.
right there. Hey, Steph.
How you doing?
So it was really a big move for me. So I had purchased her first firearm and really bought her a 38 Special snub nose because she really likes the style of it. And I really wanted to go to a place that I could trust, that I've been to personally, and kind of go through what the gun buying process should be, so that she's educated on what she wants to buy. It's not just about me; it's about her, because she has to use it at the range, use it at the house if she needs to, and in recreational situations itself. So let me ask you about you. How'd you get to On Target? You're the director of operations over there. How long you been working there? And tell me a little bit about your backstory.
Well, actually, I was recruited out of Bogota, Colombia.
Okay.
And that's where I was living at the time. I'm a gringo, don't worry. I'm American. It's just that I was working for the government. I just got out of Iraq, and my wife was she's Colombian, so I was living down there. And I heard that they're looking for a director of operations, someone who knows training, firearms.
Beautiful.
And that's something I have a little experience with. And within one day of talking to the owners, I was here in Crystal Lake, and actively hiring a staff. And you mentioned about your treatment over at On Target. And one thing I make clear to everybody I hire is that I don't really care how much you know about guns, is how much you know about people.
Yep.
And that's why we have so many staff members who have been there for a while. And that's the first thing, because I've been to a number of gun stores in the past.
Yep.
And I didn't like the tone. So I said, okay, I'm in charge now. So let's turn the tables here. When people sometimes come into a gun store, they could be a little intimidated, and you have to have some compassion.
Sure.
So you have to have not only compassion, but empathy,
Yep.
because you were in those shoes at one time yourself. So I tell all my people, hey, you treat everyone as if they're a family member that you really like.
Yeah.
Okay. How about that? And then, make them feel comfortable.
Yep.
Before you even start talking about what type of gun you should have.
Sure.
And then you could feel their questions, and they're more comfortable knowing that they're going to be treated with respect.
Yep.
They're more comfortable to ask those hard questions.
Yep. It's a what you're saying, Tom, is the exact experience that I had. So I just want to thank you, number one, because I really do see that, showcase that. My wife was laughing, having a wonderful time with there, as well as she just mentioned there as well. She loves On Target. There's a guy that does some show gunning, and he does like some old Western stuff. So he was kind of, showing off some of his really cool skills. And the overall experience of it was always great. Hey, Ted, how's it going?
And Mary Shep.
And Mary, Mary Shep has her own show here also. She's an awesome person locally as well. So I guess really the show comes down to, we're going to answer a lot of questions our main focus is talk about safety. And the reason I really wanted to bring this show alive and really talk about it is with the current situation in the country, pandemic, and overall, even the new election and the president's change and all that kind of stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, there's been an influx in gun purchases.
Exponentially.
Cool. So, and there's been a shortage on bullets, which we're going to discuss and kind of dive into at a later date of why that is going on and how to, prepare for future situations where there's shortages and things like that. But when you break down, I want to welcome everyone to the show. I'm not like a Second Amendment, like, I don't want to say crazy
zealot.
Person. Yeah.
Zealot.
I'm not like, I'm open. So this show, I really want to bring the other side here too, because I want to have those conversations of why people are anti-guns. And I want to bring in real big enthusiasts that are only about guns, and that's all they talk about, and that's all they live and breathe, and all that kind of stuff as well. And the reason is because I want to break down the facts of what the perception of guns across the country is, and how to be safe. That's like the number one priority to me, because when we have an influx in gun purchases, and we have, unlike your guys' store, where you have a fun environment, you're educational. I'm assuming you guys offer concealed carry classes.
That's correct.
So, and your main focus is safety. Not every gun store is like that. Sometimes they're just there to sell it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. We have a three-pronged mission. Number one, we're a range.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be that resource so people can shoot their own guns. Number two, we're a training academy.
Yeah.
And that's where we put a lot of emphasis. And over the last year, we have been used promiscuously by the public, and I welcome that. And I see that as intellectual honesty on the part of the average gun owner or the first-time gun owner.
Yep.
They realize now, hey, I need training. Uncle Elmo left me this relic left over when he went up the San Juan Hill with Teddy Roosevelt. And now I got to clean it up and I got to use the darn thing, or at least familiarize myself in the event I would have to use it. Mm-hmm. But there's the big misconception from coming from people who don't understand those of us who own guns, and that is that we're looking for a fight. We're not. We're not. There's two reasons why you have a firearm. Mm-hmm. Number one, for fun.
Yep.
It's actually fun to shoot. It's a tool.
100%.
It's a tool just to go out and have fun.
I find it incredibly meditative. My absolute favorite gun that I have is a single action 22 LR. And I love that thing.
Yep.
And it's just, all you do is everything falls away. There's no stress of the day. There's no pressure. And you're just looking to get that center dot on that piece of paper down the range with that tiny little pistol in your hand. And it's a step up from shooting a BB gun.
Yep.
I love that thing so much. It's
single actions, it's like a manual car. So when I grew up, I was given a manual car to learn how to drive. And my parents were always in the, you need to learn how a whole car works from start to finish. Now I drive an autopilot car, so I don't drive at all. Yeah. So I think I've just gotten lazier.
Surprised you made it.
I know, right? But it really understanding the mechanics of how things work. And I think single actions are great because you're physically understanding, you're controlling every aspect of the firearm from start to finish. And it just kind of breaks down the understanding of the basics is what I like to call it. You know what I mean? The bigger part of it too that comes down to loves On Target as well. And
Thank
then
you.
Jemima, really trusted partner. She owns a plumbing company called Liberty Oak Plumbing. They are local as well. She's actually been to On Target with me on one of my expeditions over to you guys, which is great.
Wonderful.
So if you guys, this show is going to be more for your basic gun owners, your first time gun owners, maybe your second firearm that you're looking for to have some fun with. It's the most relaxing thing ever. I bought a LLR this year, 308. Pete, we've talked about it, and I want to hit 1,000 yards with it. I've done a massive amount of research on, and before I purchased it, I went out and found the firearm that I was looking for and the color that I am. I bought the lens for it, the scope for it, and I went on Target to get it dialed in. And I have a couple funny photos from the guys that were there, because this thing is massive. It's not a tiny firearm. I mean, this thing is huge, tripod and all that kind of stuff. And it was just an experience. And for me, it's getting outside of my comfort zone, because it's a very, very far shot. And it's going to be outside, and there's going to be some calculations and math, and you guys will be a part of that experience, because I will definitely talk about it on the show. I'll bring it in and we'll go from there. So today we're not going to bring any firearms out, because it's our first initial show. But as time goes on, and hopefully with the partnership with On Target, we'll bring in some other cool firearms to talk about. And I want to dive deep further into like concealed carry, how that process looks, how do you pick your concealed carry gun, what goes into your mindset when you're getting a concealed carry gun, and then just daily carrying, getting in the good habits of clearing your firearm, or making sure that you're carrying it properly, or properly safetied, or, so you're not putting it on there as well. So Tom, let's jump into like a new gun owner walks into your showroom, and your sales team, who again, I'm just going to say is fantastic, because they are. What's the number one kind of question that people start with, that they ask, that you hear most commonly? Does that make sense?
Well, there's a lot of different questions, believe me. I think everyone seems to be, new gun owners seem to be worried about the kick.
Okay.
The recoil. Does this one kick?
Yep.
Well, no, it doesn't kick. None of them kick if you hold it correctly. If you hold it with two fingers,
yep,
or carry it like a dead rat, it's going to kick on you. But if you hold it correctly, then you don't have anything to worry about. In fact, even somebody who might be a little bit arthritic, there are different guns for them. I wouldn't give them a 44 Model 29 Dirty Harry style, but why not start with a 22 handgun?
Yep.
Work your way up. The first thing we do, I mean, a lot of people come and they go, well, is this gun accurate? Mm-hmm. That's the wrong question, because the gun is accurate. It's calibrated at the factory.
Yeah.
They put it in a vise. They press the trigger a couple times to make sure it works, and it hits its mark. And it hits its mark right on. So what will make that gun accurate is the shooter.
Sure.
So the first thing, you're not going to be able to come in right away without a Floyd and start blasting off rounds. But we do want you, number one, to feel the comfort of holding that gun in your hand, whether it's a rifle or a handgun.
Sure.
Next is the functionality. Does it function? Is it easy for you to operate? Because if it's not, move on.
Yep.
A lot of folks are scared to death of the whole semi-automatic process.
Sure.
There are too many bells and whistles with some of the hammer fire semi-autos. I got a thumb safety. I got a grip safety. I have a number of things that I have to think about in order for it to function.
Sure.
Okay, well then maybe go with a striker fire. You go ahead and you put in the magazine, you charge around, you lock and load, one in the chamber, and then you press the trigger. It goes off. So that depends on the person. A lot of folks who have a hard time working that action, because except for the EZ that came out, that is a relatively easy slide to work.
Sure.
Some folks have a dickens of a time working that slide. And especially some of our older folks, they come in. We just had a couple who came in. They were very arthritic. They're about 80 years old, but they're scared. They want to protect themselves.
Sure.
They had in their mind that they wanted to use semi-automatic because it holds more rounds.
Sure.
We gave it a try, realized, they become more of a liability to themselves and their family as they try to work that action.
Sure.
And the barrel starts going all over the house, flagging people because they're working so hard to bring that back. So I said, all right, here's what we're going to do. Let's start out with a 22 caliber revolver. And not only to learn single action, which is the difference of about 8 to 10 pounds trigger pull from double action. When you press the trigger straight back, and I do say press, not pull, as you'll learn when you take an on-target class, you press it straight back, applying pressure. If the hammer is forward, you're working in double action and it's going all the way back, and that could be a 12-pound trigger press.
Yep.
Whereas if you cock the hammer and then press, that might be 2.5 pound trigger press.
Sure.
More accurate because you have less tremble with the firearm. But these folks couldn't even do that. They couldn't cock the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't press the trigger double action. So I taught them the 2-finger trigger press.
Nice.
Okay. And that is putting your support hand index finger over your trigger finger that's already on the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And then you press in unison. And even the most arthritic or the most handicapped people
Mm-hmm.
who have problem with their hands, injuries, whatever, they can do it. And they shot well and they couldn't believe themselves. So we have a solution no matter what your issue is.
Mm-hmm.
And I have other methods of how to go ahead and charge that slide if you're using a semi-automatic. I had another lady who came in with that. She said, I want a revolver. I can't work this slide.
Mm-hmm.
It's too hard for me. I go, okay, well, show me how you're doing it. Well, she showed me her technique, and her technique was not streamlined. And I said, no. Here's how a better way for you to do it. And she tried it. She brought it into her body closer, got more leverage. And next thing you know, she says, I'm keeping it. I'm not going to have the revolver because now I know how to work the darn
That's
thing.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show, I mean, I think every person, hey, Tim, how's it going? Tim's also a local. McHenry, he owns
Santos
Thank you.
Agency Health Markets.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
I actually have health insurance through his agency too. I just drew a blank on that. I'm sorry, Tim.
Right over there on Green Street.
Green Sheet. Everything happens on Green Street.
A lot does.
So you bring up a really good point and something I really like to focus on too. Thanks for pulling it up, Pete. So every person's different. Every person has a different pull. Every person has a different push. I should say push. Everyone has different capabilities of it. My wife hates my M&P shield. She cannot load around in it. She can't cock it. She can't do anything. She actually has a really big easy. It's not the easy one. So we've actually tried the easy one as well. And even that, she just didn't feel natural with it. She's always liked the look of the revolvers, and like I said, I bought her a 38 special as her first firearm to test out, and there was a pretty big kick to it, and I knew it was, and I kind of let her know on that, and we dropped down to a single action revolver LR 22, and let me tell you, what a different experience. Yeah. And then I told you before the show, we bought her she went out and bought a M&P compact 22 semi-automatic. And she's having a blast with this thing.
Those are nice. Those are
fun.
fun.
It's so cool. I love shooting thing. It's so much fun. But she can clean it. Oh, Jemima. Awesome. I'll get to your question here, Jemima. So is the supply of handguns and ammos more accessible now versus a few months ago?
It's trickling in. And there's so many reasons why there is such a void of your ammunition. Handguns, yeah, they're coming in, but you have to remember that so many new shooters hit the market all at the same time. The market's just not ready for that. What if everyone wanted to eat Twinkies all of a sudden? We'd be out of Twinkies for a while. I see these guys raising their hand. Don't worry, there's no Twinkie shortage.
I know.
There's a ding dong. There's a ding dong shortage.
I want a Twinkie now, man.
That's one big Twinkie. Okay.
There are Twinkies in my fridge at home right now.
What the heck are they doing there?
Well, that's where I eat them.
Simple supply and demand. It's trickling back. Mm-hmm. We have our sources. It comes in. We're going to have some more ammo. Listen, everybody, we'll have more ammo for this weekend. Some of the popular brands. We're getting some in tomorrow. And so the number of people who are shooting for the first time, they went ahead, they bought all the ammo they can possibly afford, thinking that they're never going to see it again. Mm-hmm. I suggest this. All right, first of all, if you went through a whole case of 223 and a whole case of 9mm to defend your home against Antifa or whoever is attacking your home, okay, there better be something to show for that. Yes. Okay, so it's not going to happen. If you went through a couple magazines, it's probably all the most you'd need. Mm-hmm. Most times people come in a house, you start shooting, and they're gone. So you keep your self-defense your stockpile. Leave it alone. Everyone just needs a couple cases, and then you add on, you buy when available, your practice ammo.
Sure.
And another way to save money is to dry fire at home. You could aim it at figures, make sure it's unloaded and it's in the basement, your basement big screen TV. Aim it at moving figures if you want.
Do you have the practice rounds for the dry fire?
We do.
Yeah.
We have snap caps and we have dummy rounds that we use in all of our training. No live ammunition is allowed in the class, just our dummy rounds. And that's what we use so people can work the action. They can load up a magazine. You'd be surprised how many folks have a hard time just loading a magazine.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yep. But you load up a magazine. There's techniques that we could teach how to do that. Go ahead, lock and load with a dummy round, and you get a lot of practice.
Yep.
All you're not doing is shooting in the class. That's all. Yep. And then you go down to the range, and even with our classes, we run through a mock range scenario. So when you get down there, in our classes, nothing is unfamiliar to you except the sound of that round going off.
Yep.
But you have all the fundamentals that you practice time and time again as we run through the mock range detail. Then you get there and there are no surprises for you.
Yep.
Okay. You understand what is expected of you.
I'll let you get to Kent's comment and question there, but then I have one actually for you about something you just said. So, but
yeah, sounds great. And this is awesome. Thank you guys all, first off, for the support. Thank you to 21/6 and that for getting this show going and letting me be a part of this, because it really does mean a lot to me, and it is a big passion of mine. I don't really talk about it much with other than other gun enthusiasts. And this is it. So Kent asked a question here. Flags are being flown half-mast because of a mass shooting that happened the other day. Does this country need more gun control? He's really not looking for a political answer, just concerned on how much gun violence there is. So I'm going to let you answer that real quick first, and then I'm going to dive into a little bit of my values on that, I guess. So
bad people are doing bad things with illegal guns all the time. And even if we've been through this before, we talked about this before, and gun control of law-abiding citizens, it has no effect on crime. Simply said, bad people, if they want to do something, they want to incur their wrath on mankind, they will pick up, if not a gun, something else.
Sure.
Not a gun, a bus, a truck, a van.
Look what happens in Europe. They can't get gun. All right. So they slash people.
Yeah.
They kill people. And as many casualties as if he had a gun.
Yeah. So I guess my values when it comes down to it is, I think the current gun controls that we have is pretty extreme. I feel like I think that's the max in my mind of what I'm happy with going through, waiting for a FOID process, waiting for a concealed carry process, having to go to the range and deal with a concealed carry instructor, which I was actually really happy to go through because, I grew up with guns and hunting, and my grandfather's the one that always taught me, and, you're always keeping things down range. You own every single bullet that you ever fire. So whether it ricochets off a tree or a rock and hits somebody, you own that, it hits the floor, whatever it comes down to. So I take that really to heart. You're making people that are trying to defend our country fight harder to get something that they're trying to protect their family and themselves from. So you're basically making that shield harder to get, which means that the person that should have that firearm and that personal protective weapon in their pocket is now not willing to go spend the extra time and energy to do that when they could be protecting the person that is exactly what you said. It's not the registered gun owners that are the issue. It's the illegal guns that are on the street that they've never had any training. They've never sat through a concealed carry class. So they are accidentally firing these off in people's cars. I just watched a YouTube video the other day of someone that was playing around with a firearm. He's like, oh, check this out. Literally didn't even know it was loaded and shot himself in I think it was the shoulder or something, sitting in his car. And I'm just sitting there going, how did that happen? How do you even have that in your hand? I'm not a person that's going to be able to go find an illegal weapon right now. I wouldn't even know where to start. and I'd be too scared of all the gun laws that come into play, and I'd be sitting in jail for the rest of my life. I want a legal gun because I have the right to bear arms. So I should legally have to go out, prove that I have the correct status, and to be able to apply for it, background checks and everything else. I'm okay with that makes it right. But
we've all heard it before. Second Amendment, James Madison, 1791.
Yep.
A well-regulated militia for the security of a free state.
For sure.
That's the first part.
Yep.
And that's where the people they say who are anti-gun, they say, well, isn't that enough? You have a militia who they say, well, we have National Guard's militia. And then after the comma, then we have the right of the individual to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Correct. Now, the second part is an actual sentence. The right as in Bill of Rights, the right of the people to keep, not only just store it somewhere, keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That is almost biblical. And that comes from Luke 11:18, when he says, a strong man fully armed shall guard his courtyard, and his property shall not be disturbed. Those are the words of our Lord.
I love it.
So this is where our founding fathers got their rules, most of the rules. And we had something similar that James Madison, he did his research. Many of the colonies had something like that too. They understood the need for the militia at the time because a standing army in 1791 was kind of out of the question. It should only be for wartime against a foreign power. So they said, nope, just militias. And in the meantime, we got to fill the stew pot. So you get to have your gun, your Kentucky long rifle, which is a lot better than that smoothbore Brown Bess. Go out, use it, and do it safely, and come home with some meat for your pot.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, Kent, you also must have missed the one about the guy with the truck in Oklahoma a handful of years ago. So again, bad people are going to do bad things no matter what they want to use. That's just the way it is. And I love what you just said about the Second Amendment. The first is, again, it's a militia being necessary. Okay, we understand that. But they just came out of a situation where a militia of the state was necessary that they then had to wind up protecting themselves from, which is why they have that right. It's not, people think, oh, well, you have the right to go hunt. That's not why this was written. It's not why it was put in place.
Against tyranny. Our greatest fear of a standing army that many of our forefathers have personally witnessed, such as the British here back and during the Revolution and before, that have used weaponry to oppress the people.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, and you said it beautifully. Like you've said it a million times, and Tom, impressed me really, really a lot right here, and struck a chord with me too, because it's our forefathers. That's who created this country, and it's to protect ourselves from ourselves. But for me personally, it comes down to, I want to protect my family. I want to protect my wife. I want to protect my home. And then Pete, you just brought up a good point too. I hunt. I have hunted. Like, what am I supposed? I mean, yes, you can go buy an arrow and a bow, and you can, do all that kind of stuff. But hunting is about the experience, and if you're safe about it, that's all that matters. Really, that's really it comes down to for me. So, Tom, I want to thank you so much for first show. Thank you so much for the information.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. I look forward to coming back.
Yeah, we will definitely have you back, and more to come with that. Pete, you got any closing statements you want to make?
Other than, of course, we very, very much appreciate having Tom here today. And just one more shout out for On Target there. If you like to go visit their website or give them a call, talk to Tom, 815-477-2020. And of course, Gold Shield Services, Gold Shield today, not tomorrow, but today.com. We thank them for their financial support of the show. And then we will see you all again next week, Thursday at 6 p.m. Come back.